Welcome back to CBA First Take. I'm Andrew Nardiello with Chris Carrino and Hugh Straine. And as we head into the Final Four of the NCAA brackets, for the first time, Duke and UNC have met. And it's crazy. The history between these two teams goes back as some of the greatest of all time, and some of the greatest players have come through it. But the first time they're meeting is in the Final Four, and that's insane. So I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Hugh, you go first.
Yeah, well, Duke's definitely the better team. This is the third time they've met. At Cameron, UNC got the win, spoiled Coach K's last home game, 94-81. Duke beat him in Chapel Hill by 20, 87-67. But Duke's kind of hit a whole new realm since they've gotten in the tournament. Paolo Banchero averaging 18.5 points, 7 rebounds, shooting 8 for 15 from three-point range. In the tournament, Jeremy Roach, point guard, also stepped up, hitting some big shots, and Mark Williams down low has really brought this team to a new level, taking down 3 of the top defensive teams in the country, 3 games in a row to get to the Final Four. And the way this team's playing right now, I don't see how UNC can knock them down.
Well, it's interesting because when you look at the 2 games they've played this year, the game in Chapel Hill at North Carolina, I felt wasn't the team that we have now, and I feel like the win at Cameron was kind of the birth of the team they have now and the run that they've been on and kind of jump-started them. I mean, they had a win at Syracuse before that, and that was really what kind of jump-started the run. But I feel like the Duke game really was kind of the start of that, and I just feel like this team could beat anybody in the country right now.
Well, yeah, you say that, but you can't really forget who UNC is because they are an 8 seed. They lost to Pittsburgh, who finished the season 11-21. They lost to Miami by 28. They let up 98 points to Kentucky, lost to Kentucky by 28-2. Before the tournament, UNC was 3-8 in quad 1 games, meaning they really didn't play their opponents well. So can't really forget who they are because they are still an 8 seed, and they have been red hot, but they're not the team Duke is. You know, they're just not.
Yeah, I mean, winning 7 of your last 8 in March and, really and beating some of the best teams in the country with one of the best resumes in the country over the last couple months. I just feel like UNC...
Not a couple months, couple weeks. Maybe 2 weeks.
I mean, a month. If you're counting
maybe
the
a
Duke
month.
game.
Those wins do include Baylor, which was the number 1 seed.
Baylor,
Right.
UCLA, which was a 4 seed, 2 Final Four teams from last year.
Right.
I just think more than that, it was just the value each guy brings individually for this team in between the starting 5 of Leaky, RJ, Brady, Caleb, and Mondo. All of them just bring a crazy amount of value to themselves in their own specific way. Brady Manick, plus minus, was 56 in the first 2 rounds of the tournament, higher than anybody else in the country. And then Armando Bacot had 20 and 20 in the Elite 8 game against St. Peter's, the latest 2020 game in the tournament. Since Hakeem Olajuwon, like they all just bring such energy. Caleb Love had 28 in the second half of the UCLA game, basically putting the team on his back. I just feel like this team, when they need it, they had certain guys step up in certain games. I think that's really important when you want to make a long run in a tournament like this, especially single elimination.
Well, you talk about Caleb Love. He's taken 43-point shots this tournament, and he hasn't really been very efficient. Sure, he had 27 points in the second half against UCLA. 28, sorry, and he had a 30-point game, but he's taking so many shots, and you have to think he hasn't been terribly efficient, so it's not really reliable to see him doing that again and continue to do that. UNC really, the 5 guys you named, those are really the 5 guys that get serious minutes. Like Puff Johnson will play a few minutes. They have guys in single-digit minutes, but the only guys that really get heavy minutes are those 5 guys. So their energy's got to be cutting down sometime soon, right? While Duke plays around 7 guys, double-digit minutes, UNC only 5. It's just hard for me to see UNC matching up well and being able. If Duke's been a whole new tournament team in this tournament, the defense really struggled towards the end of the season and kind of got worse as the season went on. But in this tournament's been great. They did a horrible job of rotating during the season, but did a great job of that of teams like Texas Tech and Michigan State and Arkansas. They shut J.D. Notae down, who was the second leading scorer in the SEC this year. In the Elite 8 to get here, and it's just tough for me to see UNC slowing them down unless Duke comes back to how they did maybe in the AC Championship against Virginia Tech and offensive struggles come back. But the way some guys have been playing, I just don't see it.
I just feel like this UNC team isn't necessarily a team that's going to slow down. I mean, I know you said they are what they are, but they are still, North Carolina Tar Heels. Like, that's one of the most prestigious programs in the country, and I think they kind of picked it up right at the right time. And I think, yeah, like I said, they all kind of bring value. Even Puff Johnson off the bench, I just feel like 1 through 5, he's going to have to play all 5 positions. He does it all the time. Where even if Mondo Baker gets in trouble or anybody in the starting 5 gets in trouble, he's kind of the guy they're bringing in no matter what.
Well,
they're
yeah,
not going to
but
switch sides.
when he plays only, I think he averages around 8 minutes a game. Can you really say Armando Bacot, who averages 17 and 16 rebounds in the tournament against Mark Williams? It's a matchup I'm very excited for to see. Mark Williams versus Armando Bacot. Say Armando Bacot has 3 first-half fouls. Is the game over? Can Puff Johnson? I think that kind of seals the deal if Armando Bacot's in foul trouble.
Well, he played with 4 fouls for most of the end of the Baylor game, and they didn't even have him out on the floor for a lot of it. And I feel like this UNC team, when you talked about them only playing 5 guys double-digit minutes, I don't think they're like getting tired. Like I don't think that's like people. They're like, yeah, they're kind of losing steam toward the end of the games. I don't really see that personally, and they've been playing in these crazy close games. I just don't see the fatigue of the team being the difference in the game. Like I don't see it really being a crazy hold on them. But like every team in the country, it's going to be tough to play all these games, win all these games, and it's going to definitely put some fatigue on you and your team. And I just feel like UNC isn't more affected or less affected than anybody else. I feel like it's just kind of even playing field in that kind of arena.
I don't know, because it just seems like I think this is the toughest team they played so far, because Baylor was a 1 seed. They were great. But people forget they didn't have their leading scorer, L.J. Cryer, the best 3-point shooter in the Big 12 for most of the year. So that really hurt them. And Carolina, big lead, I think it was the 25-point lead with 10 minutes to go. They blew it. Saved themselves in overtime, but that would have been tied for the worst loss in NCAA or worst blown lead in NCAA tournament history.
Well, the only reason why they would have lost is because it was maybe the softest flagrant 2 foul call in the history of college basketball. And Brady
one
Manek.
flagrant 2 call doesn't mean you can't lose blow a 25-point lead and be like, oh, that flagrant 2 call though. It's not,
because he was like running the team, like he was like the offense was running through.
Well,
him.
that proves my point from earlier. If one of those 5 key guys gets out, are they done? Because they can't hold 25-point lead against Baylor in 10 minutes when they don't have one of their 5 guys.
I mean, it's not like they didn't have one of their 5 guys. It was also that Caleb Love and Armando Baker both fouled out, which is not. I'm not saying that's a excuse, because they did foul out. Like that's their fault. But that team showed so much heart in that Baylor game at the end, and I just felt like the refs were just not on their side at all. And I think they wanted to see that game become close. And I just feel like UNC weathered the storm better than anyone thought they could in the country, even though most of the country didn't even think they could win the game. And the fact that they could hold on to a lead as the underdog.
They didn't hold on to the lead. They got it back.
They won the game.
Yeah, they got it back, and they won it in overtime, but they didn't hold on to that lead.
I mean, at the end, when the sound
they got the lead back and won it, but they blew a 25-point lead in 10 minutes.
When overtime ended, they
only lost one guy who's a great player, Brady Manek, but they only lost one guy.
Caleb Love also they lost. He fouled out.
I don't know when he fouled out, but
he was on the bench for a while.
I honestly don't. I don't know when he was on the bench, but they lost one guy, 2 guys maybe, sure. But even when they lose 2 guys, say Caleb Love and Brady Manek have 3 first-half fouls against Duke, is that the game? It's tough to rely on them when that's.
No, because it seems like when one player doesn't play as well, or 4 guys aren't playing as well, one is stepped up. Like the round of 32, that was the Baylor game. That was the R.J. Davis game. He had 30.
Well, R.J. Davis is one of their 5 key guys. That's my point. They don't have.
I think that there's definitely a lot of history between these 2 teams, and like the legacy behind both of them is insane. And I think going into this, like how we're talking about UNC constantly has guys stepping up, like that's it. Like that's going to be UNC's thing. Like if they have all these guys step up, even when like someone fouls out, like I think that's going to be the big point for them. Duke looks like Panchero has had the team on his back, and I think that's really important for them. And if like he's out of the game, do they have any weapons? But that's just all to be seen. So moving on, do we have any predictions for Kansas-Villanova, which is the other match in the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, that one's really interesting, and I feel like the matchup, I think Villanova's been the most consistent team in the country over the last couple weeks. I don't really even think it's up for debate. I think they were on pace. I'm not sure if they did it, but they were definitely on pace to break the free throw percentage record, like all time, for a college basketball season. And I just feel like they've been just so consistent. And I know the injuries hurt them a lot, and Gillespie's going to have to definitely carry more of a load here in this last 2 games if they want to win that national championship. But I just feel like consistency always pulls through, and I think Kansas is due for a bad game.
Yeah, I don't see any sort of chance Villanova has without Justin Moore. Tore his Achilles a few days ago, 15-point per game score. Probably their best perimeter defender. I don't see any sort of shot Villanova has, honestly, without him. Kansas has sort of been almost under the radar this tournament because they were the only one seed to make the Final Four, and they were just the only one seed that did their job and won their region like they were supposed to. Remy Martin was the big preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. Wasn't really playing like it. Struggled with injuries throughout the year. He's been great this entire tournament, averaging 17. And National Player of the Year finalist Ochai Agbaji hasn't been phenomenal in the tournament like he has all season. He had 18 against Miami, which was a great. After a struggling first half, it was a great second half of Kansas. Completely dominated and won the game big. But I don't see how they get worse, because I think this team can really only get better. I think David McCormack in the paint is going to be huge, because Caleb Daniels on him. I think David McCormack in the paint and sort of making a presence for himself, I think that's the game, if he can do that. Without Justin Moore, who's probably their best defender, and such a high-powered offense, that's Kansas. I don't see how Villanova stops it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all stacked up against them with Moore getting injured, and obviously they're just kind of been banged up all year. But I just feel like when you have that ability to make those free throws and stay consistent down the stretch, it gives you more freedom to kind of do what you want, and you can get fouled, and you can depend on those free throws being points. And I think converting free throws to points, especially late in these March Madness games, is the most important thing in the game. And I feel like just if Villanova can keep it close, I think they'll have a real shot down the stretch.
Is it safe to say that for Villanova to win this game, we might need I think at least 30 points from Colin Gillespie? 40% 3-point shooter. I think at least 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're not going to want to get into a shootout. I don't think that's necessarily the game plan at all, and I don't think they're equipped to win a game like that. But I do think that Gillespie's going to obviously need to score. But I just think more than anything, it's just being good on the defensive glass, not letting Kansas get second chance opportunities. And I just think it's really getting to the free throw line, and not necessarily trying to get to the free throw line, but trying to find the open man. And if the free throws come, the free throws come. And I think that they have a good thing to lay back on in case they need it in late in the game.
Oh yeah, I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see how. Because for them to make free throws and stay in it, they're going to have to. They are a top 20 defensive team, but then they lost their best defender. So for them to have to hit free throws and stay in it, they have to keep Kansas from scoring. And Kansas they've struggled scoring. They've had some bad games, but the wave of momentum they're kind of riding after winning the Big 12 championship, it's just tough for me to see Villanova stopping them.
I think for both of these games, it's all about the next guy up. It's about if someone's off the court. It's the next guy up. Can the next guy who's on the bench most of the time, can he come in and can he make a difference to change the game for either Villanova or for Kansas? And the same thing for UNC and Duke. But that is all we have time for in this first take. I want to thank Chris Carrino and Hugh Straine.